And with that, let's hand it over to Kristine. Take it away.
Excellent. So I'm really glad to be here. Very much thanks to Michael and Tom and Susan, Brandjectory team, for allowing me the opportunity to share my experience with brand positioning and brand strategy. I primarily work with startup and emerging food and beverage brands. So this is a great place for me to share my expertise. And I have really emphasized working with founders and teams to really align your brand strategy, your brand positioning, so that your messaging is allowing you to connect with your consumers. So going much more further than your products, always talk about your products, you talk about everything that's around it so that you can really engage with your consumers. So I've been working in the natural products category internally as the VP of marketing for personal care company called My Shell Dermaceuticals and a powdered format beverage called Healthy Scoop. And then now with my company Brand Guide, I do a lot of consulting for pre-revenue and emerging brands to get that messaging aligned first, because you have a great product, you know what you're doing there, and you want to create more awareness. But I want you to kind of back up to the idea of like, why you're doing this and what your true mission for your business is. And so I worked with all aspects of your brand strategy down through the marketing tactics, because that consistent and authentic messaging is really important to your business and to who you are. I'd love it if you introduce yourself in the chat, because that helps all of us to know who you are and what type of business that you have. And basically, I have prepared a lot of information for you today. So I'm going to help you define consistent, authentic messaging, like I talked about there, and help you with that storytelling. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to share some slides, but then I'll go back and forth so that we can have a little bit more of a conversation, because I've prepared a workbook for you. If you downloaded it already, fantastic. You don't need it for this workshop right now, but it's a great way for you to highlight all the topics that I'm going to talk about and have some questions to go along with it. So it's kind of that DIY opportunity for you to get your brand positioning together. So, I've worked with a lot of companies, Wetherspoon Manuka Honey, Keef Beverages, and Urban Pantry, a lot of companies that are starting out or maybe are even rebranding. So whatever stage you're at with your business, there's a lot of really great information that I'm going to share today. Yes, put questions in the chat, and at the end or in between when I'm talking about the topics, you can ask your questions and I'm happy to answer them. So I'm going to share my screen right now, and starting with kind of a little bit of a visual of the experience that I bring. I really want to express that brand positioning and brand messaging really does show up in your voice and how you talk and the language that you use, but it also shows up visually. It shows up in your logo, shows up in your colors, shows up in your photography. And the goal of brand positioning is really consistency and authenticity. And so just kind of giving you some visuals of things that I've worked on, from photography and packaging, logo development. But today what we're really going to focus on is I'm going to talk a little bit about specifically what a brand is and the branding framework that really helps you get to this position with these guardrails. So we're going to talk about your vision, which is your inspiration, your purpose for your business, why you started the business, your values, which is really 4 or 5 core principles for who you are and your business, your mission, specifically what you do and for who you do it, and then reasons to believe. And understand reasons to believe as those are reasons to believe your consumer to believe in you. So the relevancy, your proof points, maybe certifications, all those aspects. So here's a QR code real quickly if you want to download that while I'm presenting, but again, you don't have to do that. So the workbook actually has a lot of really great questions in it, and it'll help you as you kind of come back around to this and you start figuring out all the aspects of your messaging.
Excuse me, Kristine, we also put a link to the workbook in the chat.
Okay, perfect. So again, you don't need it right now. So if you want to truly pay attention to all the great nuggets of information here, let's do that. And then you can come back to that later. So I want to talk a little bit what a brand is, because a brand is very holistic. It's, expectations that you put on the brand, it's expectations that your consumers do, it's memories, it's stories, it's the relationships that you have with your employees, with your consumers, with partners, all those pieces. And they account for what your consumer's decision is to choose your product or your competitor's product. So I want to highlight, obviously the aspect is that when we were talking about branding, it used to be like what we told the consumer the brand is. And what I like to really note here is that it's no longer what we tell them, it's what they tell each other and what they can tell us back, because getting that feedback is a really important process for you to know who you are and what you're presenting to your consumer. So let's talk a little bit about the value of brand development. A lot of times you're so focused on your product, production, manufacturing, ingredients, all those aspects, but the brand development is a really important part because you get clarity. You get clarity on who you are, what you do, and why you do it. And that gives you the confidence for you to know that you have a differentiated message, that it's visually engaging, that it's consistent. And all those elements are really important to your messaging. And kind of put in another way for that to be a key to the success of your business is having a differentiated message. There are so many brands that are selling very much the same thing, but you have to call out the things that make you different, that make you stand out from the competition. And a lot of times it can be your brand messaging, how you connect with your consumer and how you really like have that conversation with them, and the visual and the stories that you tell, the trends that you're following. And really understanding your target audience. That's a really crucial piece, because not everybody is your target audience. People always say that anyone can use their product, but that's not what you want to do. You want to hone in on your target audience, focus there, get that halo effect for that target audience, and then you can expand on from that. You can expand on to lookalike customers that are your core customer, and that gets your product to be able to have more awareness and also be able to scale. That brand personality is super important because that gives a connection to your consumer, like-minded, visually attractive to them, all those pieces. And then all those elements allow you to engage beyond your products, so that when you're having social media conversations, you're having any conversations on your website, you don't always have to talk about your product. You're building something much bigger. So I hope that those pieces really make sense. So what I'd like to showcase here is the framework that I talk about. Put this in a pyramid. And really at the top is your vision, your brand purpose, why you started your business. Why are you here? What are you trying to do within your category? What kind of inspiration are you sending out? And bookend at the bottom is the values. And these are really core attributes. They are the strength, the foundation of your business, and they can shape the culture, but they also really connect to our consumer base, our very conscious consumer base. So you want to really highlight those values. Those values can be values for yourself personally, but that align with your company and your consumer. In the middle is the real meat, your mission, what your company does, who your target audience is, and how your vision is accomplished, and your reasons to believe. And those are truly the relevant aspects of why someone should believe in your company and purchase your product. The last piece of brand character, I'm not going to talk too in depth about that today because that is a really expansive topic. It's how you talk, it's your tone of voice, it's how you look, it's an aspect of brand archetypes, and I'll talk about that a little bit, but I want you to be able to really focus on the 4 pieces of your vision, your values, your mission, and your reason to believe today. All right, so I want to show a before and after. This company came to me before they had any brand positioning, and on the left-hand side, the name of their company was called Pole Crescent. They were an Asian food. This visual has really no alignment with who they were and who they are. And so I went through all those aspects of the things that I'm going to talk about in a second here But we really came to this after of Vici, really powerful love and energy, and much more premium because we're a premium product. They were a higher price product. And when they went to a designer, went directly to the designer, which can be a fault initially because you don't have your brand put together, that you have a designer and you say, I'm an Asian entree, Asian frozen entree, and this is what you can get. But put that brand positioning together and you can get what's on the right hand side because it's truly authentic to who you are. Same thing with this company, JT's Deli. On the left hand side, they do nutritional yeast. We're growing them into grab to go deli, but on the left hand side, just very simple, very clean, but there was no life, no energy. And this is, definitely a challenger brand in the deli category for plant-based deli. And so we brought it to life with much more color and visuals. And there's a whole other extension of their style guide and a lot of their messaging. But you can see the difference that happens when you continue to look deep into what you're doing with your business and get those guardrails for your brand positioning. So let's go through the framework step by step. So vision, your brand purpose. So your vision is really your goal and your purpose that you see for the future of your company. So it's inspiration, it drives your business, and it connects to your company values. So it shapes that culture. So those two things, your vision and value, definitely play together. So when you're thinking of your vision, you really want to think strong about why you started this business and why it's important, because that's what will bring you back every day. Why? Why did you start this business? And so looking at a couple examples, I'll go through examples on each one of these so you can see high level, some ideas, some benchmark ideas that can really help you define your vision. So Disney, one of my most favorite visions, super easy to make people happy. So it's not about their entertainment. It's not about their locations. It's not about their movies. It's really about this vision to make people happy. Seventh Generation, I love the name of their product. And this really inspires a more conscious and sustainable world by being an authentic force for positive change for the next 7 generations. So again, they're not talking specifically about the product that they make, but they're talking about what they're trying to do for the future of their youth, and really looking at making change within this category. So you can see high level, very purposeful. I want to talk just really quickly about the difference between a vision and a mission. So your vision, like I mentioned, is that goal and purpose. And we'll get to your mission in a second, but I think it's important for you to see the hierarchy of your vision being your purpose and your mission being specifically what you make. And the components to that are your target audience. It is competitive analysis, but it's all how you're accomplishing your vision, because you have to have the right products and the right ideas behind them, the right innovation to ladder up to that purpose that is really important to your business. So if I look at vision for Disney as the example, to make people happy, vision statement, purposeful. Mission statement is really about their entertainment, inform and inspire people around the globe. So they're thinking large, power unparalleled storytelling, iconic brands. So they bring in the brands, the creative minds that create all this work, technologies, but they're the world's premier entertainment company, very specific on what they do. So showing you this vision versus the mission, I think, is really important as you start to write. A lot of people like to flip that around, and I really want you to focus on your vision being something that's very purposeful for why you started your business. So in creating your vision, a couple of things that I want you to focus on. In your workbook, which I'll show in a second, you really want to highlight what that promise is. This could be to your industry overall, natural products, could be to your category, frozen entrees, sauces, ready to eat meals, all those pieces. What is your promise to the industry and to you as you build your company? And you really want to create that purpose. So create something that's bigger than your products and encourage growth. I know at a time when we're now done, I have air quotes here, done with the pandemic, you can think a little bit longer, but what is it a year from now? What is it 2 years from now? You don't have to think 10 years from now, because there's so many things that are happening. And as you're starting your business, keep a realistic mindset to what's happening. And then really, truly permission to dream. So this is a chance for you to believe what you can do future and really catalyze on that dream that you have for why you started your business. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly show you in the workbook. I've printed it out. You have questions in each one of the categories that I have here. And when you're thinking of your vision, I have the questions, why did you start this business? What's the real reason? And what is your motivation for this business? Because that's what one will get you out of bed every morning, and it really drives what is the purpose for your business. So I don't know if there are any questions, but I really want you to take time to answer those questions, and then you can write that vision statement based on the answers to your questions. Okay. All right, so really great brands inspire employees and partners, and your vision and your mission bring pride and connection to your current employees and also inspire top talent. So not only does this, help your consumer base, but it actually helps you hire people. So having that vision really says you want to hire people that align with that at the same time. So branding does more than just what your messaging is and just for your products. All right, so let's go to values. And values really are those pieces of your business, your values personally, maybe as the founder, but they're the things that remain true no matter what the situation. And they're truly your brand DNA. And what I like to say is choosing 3, 4, 5 values is really important. And having those values allows you to stay true to what those are, right? So I want you to make sure that it's not the table stakes of innovation. It's not the aspects of, the things that are true to what your business is and what people expect. They're the things that truly do make you different at the same time. So your values are important to who you are, to your consumer, to your employees, your partners. And those are the elements that are really important overall that match up and ladder up to your vision. So here's 2 examples that I like to call out. Chickpea, which is a chickpea pasta. We will protect our children's planet. We will deliver simple solutions, and we will seek better. So if you look at those aspects, there are definitely, this is a company that definitely has other values, but when you're talking to your consumer, the other aspect of any messaging that you do is to focus, dial it down. Don't tell them 10 things, tell them 3 or 4 things, and stay true to those things, because then they remember it. You might say it over and over again, and it might get old to you, but your consumers don't see it as much as you do. But when they see it 7, 8 times, then they really know who your brand is and what you stand for. So Laird Foods is another really great one. High performance, they're a superfood and a coffee creamer. High performance, high energy, high efficacy products. They are also pro-team, so they sponsor a lot of teams. Sponsorship is important. Influencers are important. And then the last piece is mahalo, which is Hawaiian for gratitude. So they're always thankful for everything that they're doing. They're thankful for the products that they make, how they make you feel, that you have a really fantastic life. They're thankful for their customers. They're thankful for how they're sourcing in their ingredients. So they call all those pieces out. Do they have other values that are important to their business? Yes, they do, but they really highlight 3 here for the consumer to understand what they stand for. All right, so when you're looking at your values, I have a list of 10 to 15 words that I kind of jotted down here. And what's good about having a whole list of words is to then choose 10 to 15 words that describe your company, and they're meaningful for who you are and what your business is and what your consumer is, and that they resonate for you and that they're authentic to who your brand is. And then when you have those 10 to 15, then you start to whittle those pieces down to get to the 3 or 4 values that are really important. Keep those 3 or 4 additionals off to the side because they're important to your business, they're important to your employees and the things that are happening in your business, but I want you to call that list down. So again, when looking at your workbook, really looking at those top pieces And when it comes to value, especially in our industry of product, of really good conscious products, you really want to think of social impact. What is your social impact? And values can really play into that. You saw that in Chickapea, you saw that in 7th Generation. So think those values through too, and have that be one of the values that's really important to you. If social impact is important, if there's an environmental component, maybe there's a packaging component that's really important, and call those pieces out. Don't do it twice, but do it once, because you have two other ones that you really want to highlight on the other values for your business. Any questions from a values perspective? All right, so again, value in branding is that it clarifies and forces focus. I know as an entrepreneur, many things go on in your life, in your business life, in your personal life, but when you define things such as your vision and your mission, then you fall back on that. And that's when you can determine what the next opportunity is. Does it align or does it not? It gives you the opportunity to say yes or no. It keeps you focused. It keeps guardrails. I'll probably say that word guardrails a couple of times, because that's really what you need when you're building your business, so that you're not all over the place. You're focused and you're headed down that path. All right, let's talk about mission. So mission is what your company does, your target audience, and how you're accomplishing your vision. So when I look at mission statement, again, what I kind of mentioned earlier, so it provides that focus and attention, because you know exactly what you're doing and you can go down the right road versus taking a Y here, taking a left here, and doing other aspects of your business that you think are beneficial potentially from a dollar perspective, but really don't align with specifically what you do. So it moves your company forward. It shapes your company direction, because again, that's all laddering up to your vision. And most importantly, it establishes consistency. I mentioned that at the beginning because consistency is really important, not only for you and your team, that you're very consistent on what your goals are and your objectives are, your strategy, all those elements, but it also helps your consumer know who you are, and so that they don't feel like there's a different personality happening, or you're making a product over here and then all of a sudden you're making a completely different product over here, because again, you've got these guardrails for what you do. It is also who you do it for, and I think it's an important piece, which we'll talk about in a second, of knowing your target audience, and again, focusing on a key target audience. Again, not everybody is your target audience, because you have to stay focused here also. Focus is an important aspect of building your business and your brand positioning. So when you're looking at your mission statement creation, so a couple questions to ask yourself are, what specifically do you make? And take the notes to say, what specific category you're in, what specific product you're in, flavors that you're doing, sourcing, what kind of innovation, that the ingredients, the services and aspects that you're developing about your product that make you different than your competition, so that you can really highlight those pieces and really talk about what's the quality, what's the pricing, what's the sourcing that's uniquely yours. If there's efficacy, if you've got testing behind it, or you've got just some ingredient studies that you can call out. And really important aspect is find that white space, do that competitive analysis, because when you do the competitive analysis, truly dial into what your competitors are making, what their pricing is, what flavors that they're doing, what sizes that they're doing. Creating a spreadsheet can really be helpful. So let's talk about two examples, because I like to do that because it helps you really benchmark and see what other people are doing. Groovy, which is a non-alcoholic beverage, their mission is really help others be healthy, stay social, so they can stay at the party and have a drink, one drink at a time. So they create a line of craft non-alcohol beer and wine, because you deserve it. Because again, whatever your reasons why you don't drink, you deserve to have something to hang out, stay with the party, feel like you're invited to that party. But it's about your health. Your health is your wealth, and the beverage you consume shouldn't compromise that. So they're really highlighting that you can stay with the party, but they make non-alcoholic beers and wine. And then Good Catch. So Good Catch is a plant-based seafood company. So they really highlight in their mission statement, rich flavor, flaky texture. If you're a seafood person, not plant-based, but if you're a seafood person, you really want rich flavor, flaky texture. And that's something that you're missing as a vegetarian, and you want in your plant-based option. But at the same time, the reason why you want that is you don't want to have anxiety. You don't want to have the mercury or the overfishing to ruin your appetite. So they really highlight what they do and the reason behind that to help you as the consumer. So again, really focus on the reason why, the problem that they are solving for their consumer. All right, so once again, I'll showcase, a couple questions on really from your workbook, highlight the things that you do specifically, compare them to the competition, ask the important questions of what ingredients are you using that are different than your competition, and then why you're using those ingredients, because ingredients are really important in our industry, right? People want to know the differences, the efficacy, the benefits behind them. So really outline those pieces. So there's a lot of work to be done in your mission when you're writing your mission statement that ladder up into your mission statement, your target audience, the competition, and the details of what you're making. Any questions? All right, we're going to keep on moving.
I actually had a question, Kristine.
Yes.
Hi, how are you, Shivani?
Hi, good to see you.
Good to see you too. I was just curious on that mission statement you just put up from Groovy.
Yes.
And I can't think of exactly, but it said something about others, like others in their help others be healthy and stay social.
Yes.
So I'm curious about that word others, because should it be speaking directly to like me as a consumer versus?
Yes.
I'm just curious about that word others, and not to nitpick at all, because I like
no.
the rest of it,
So
but,
I didn't write the mission statement. I pulled it because the details are really crucial. I think that you have a really great question there about others. I think that a better way to do that is to help you be healthy, because you're talking about that mission. And this is something that can be forward facing to your consumer. So I think choosing the right words is really important. That's what messaging is all about. So I like what you're saying is that you really want to focus on the consumer and say, we're here to help you. It's not us talking about ourselves as a brand. We're here to solve a problem for you.
Okay.
Great question.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right. So I'm going to keep moving. So clearly defined brand messaging guides all your sales and marketing tactics too. So I think that as you put all these messaging guides together, your brand guide, which has your logo and your colors and your fonts, you also want to put together your messaging guide that has your brand story, your founder story, all the lifestyle aspects that come behind everything that you do with your company. Because as you have a team, or you're growing a team, this is something that they're going to come back to you. And when those people leave, you automatically have something that can be given to them in a printed format or an hours-long conversation with them. But so that your message is always told in the same way, and it keeps you on track, no matter who's telling that story. It's you, your team, a partner, any kind of those aspects, because that consistency is really important, because then people truly know who you are. So I mentioned competitive analysis. So in my mind, this is something that you should really take the time to do. Sit and take the time. Create time for you to actually look at the competition, analyze it, find that white space, find that problem to solve for your target audience, or just outline the problem that you are solving for your consumers, because that's an important piece that your marketing team needs to know, because that's how they're going to talk to the consumer. So when you're doing the research for the competition, I have a couple kind of pointers for you to really get out there and look. So networking, being part of Brandjectory, hearing, what other people are doing, industry magazines. You can surf the internet, but don't look at all the dogs on the surfboards. You got to put your time to it. I really think you should stalk your competition. Always get their newsletters. know what they're doing on their website, understand the things that they're saying, so that one, you're making sure that you're different than what they're saying and calling out other pieces. But you can shop retailers too. One of the things that's important is buy their product. I know you're supporting them, but if you buy their product and taste their product, you can honestly tell a story behind your product tasting better, or the ingredient choices that you're making versus what your competitors are doing. Highly recommend doing Google Alerts. Super easy thing to do, where you can have it show up once a week, once a month, on your competition, on yourself, so you can see people talking about yourself. And then as I kind of have over to the right here, this is just a super easy competitive grid where you talk about functionality. So low efficacy, high efficacy, functional, low functional, high functional, low price, high price. By putting your competitors on this grid and focusing on where you are, you can see that you have the white space, you're at the right price, you're having the right product features that are really important to solve your consumers' problems. I really like to outline somewhere between 5 and 10 competitors. A lot of times I talk to my clients and they're like, yeah, I know, so-and-so, and I know so-and-so, and they know them high level. I really want you to get down to the details and don't be shy and really understand what your competition is doing. Here's an example. So I mentioned Healthy Scoop. That was a company that I worked with as the VP of marketing. And so I have a grid here, super simple again, whey versus plant-based powdered nutrition, and then it was efficacy, ineffective, strong, effective, high function, high functional ingredients, adaptogens, etc. And I showcased that we're playing in that upper right quadrant. And then you have other players within the category, Garden of Life, Vega, Sun Warrior. But you can see that that's a great place to play because we're not competing in the way. That is a differentiator for us. We're not playing in lower price or less effective. So you can kind of get an idea of what that messaging can be. And this is a great visual to give your team, as they then know where they can have their conversations lead. So great example here. So the second part of your mission statement is really your target audience. And again, not everybody is your target audience. Hone in on your key targets so that you know, what does the brand mean to them? What are their motivations? Why are they purchasing the product? And then their use cases. How are they using the products? Are they using the products the way you intended them to be used? Or are they using the products in a different way? And you can really kind of get fine-tuned on that by knowing your target audience. 5 key pieces to know about your target audience. Meaning, what does the brand mean to them? And why are they purchasing the product? Is it for the functional reasons? Or is it for a lifestyle or a more of an emotional reason? That functional and emotional can still play together, but you have to know the meaning of your brand to your consumer. Surveys are really good for this. Super easy Google surveys can work really well for this. Motivations. Why are they buying it? Are they buying it for the price? What's the problem that you're solving for them? What's the motivation that's truly aligning to them? Where are you in the store? Is it for self-improvement? And then what kind of triggers? So I mentioned the emotional and the functional side of it. Is there a rational reason for them to want to buy a very highly nutritious product? Or is there more of an emotional reason behind it? Makes them feel good. They get to have fun. They have their family with them. They're snacking. What are those, aspects of your product that help to motivate and trigger them into purchasing your product? Use cases is really important because, when you're talking about your product, maybe it's a snack and it's family oriented, maybe you find out that it's something that's more personal, to your consumer. And so you want to know what that is so that your messaging then can align with how they're using the product, their motivations, the meaning for your brand there. And then lastly, barriers. So is pricing a barrier? Are there key ingredients? Are there functional aspects that the consumer is looking for? Is quality, something that they're really looking for? We have a very discerning consumer in this category. So really understanding your consumer is a benefit to you, because that messaging then can truly align with what they're looking for and what you're offering, so that there's definitely that connection. Demographics, super easy to do when you're trying to think high level. Are you focusing on millennials? Are you focusing on boomers? What's the education level that they are? Are they single or married with kids, family? Actually highlighting that is important. And I really think the psychographics of your target audience are really the top priority, because you get their attitudes, you get their aspirations. You can say that they're foodies, or they're athletic, or they're outdoorsy, or maybe they're the first movers on very innovative and functional products. There's culture considerations. There's lots of really great cultural flavors that are coming out now, and really aligning with those and finding what that purpose is within your brand. And then how do you connect that to your consumer? Values, which we really talked about, laddering up with your vision. It's super important if it's a family product, if it's a wellness product, if it's something that you can take when you're traveling, and really understanding that problem to solve, because those challenges are where your messaging should be. How are you offering something that your consumer can really find an answer to their problem? Busy, anxiousness, sleeplessness, any kind of health concerns. Here's a quick example for a target audience. So this is a company that I'm working with that does fermented peppers. Their target audience is foodies, the Gen Z, young millennials. They're looking for food that has bold flavors. They're very adventurous eaters, because this is something that is a spicy Hungarian pepper. So they're very health conscious, because it's fermented product also. So there's got to be that motivation behind the functional aspect. So their motivations, number one, are flavor and digestive wellness, because of the functionality of fermentation. And then we answer the problem that they're solving: ordinary foods into extraordinary foods. And really, when you look at that problem to solve, looking at why your product appeals the most. This product specifically is a non-vinegar fermented food. It's in oil. So that is a true differentiator for them. And this brand really looks to educate. I know that's, again, our category, because our consumer is really looking for the functionality, and we have to teach them all the differences in the functionality of foods. But, really highlighting that, and that kind of showcases your differentiator. So when you're looking at your questionnaire, your worksheet. So you want to really kind of look at your competition, your target audience, and highlight the real reasons for your mission statement, specifically the problem that you're solving. So that's what your messaging can align with, and how you write your mission statement, just like we were talking about, that this can be very consumer facing, so that they know specifically what you do and can really align with it. So I'll ask again, potentially not, but are there any additional questions?
Kristine, there is a question from a founder who couldn't put it in the chat. So I'm just going to ask, Lynn, are you able to turn on your video and audio and ask your question? And if you don't,
can you hear me
are.
now? Okay,
Okay.
great.
Yes,
Hi, Kristine. Kristine, thank you. This is great information. I just love it. I was originally in the television news business, so establishing a brand was very different, but it's very similar. So I have a Cheesa Pleasa is my company, and my brand is established. And I've just gone into my bigger store this last year, about 8 months ago, and I have very differentiating flavors. But my question is, I want to change the names of the individual flavors, not the brand, keeping the same color, everything the same. And I'm trying to decide whether I do this now or whether I wait for another year as I'm building the market within this store, such as I have Hatch Green Chili Cheesa, and I want to change it to Hallelujah Hatch, so that it has more of an emotion, because we're very big flavor and fun. And instead of like a 5-cheese savory pimento, I want to say Mama Jean's 5 Cheesa. So would you suggest I do something like that now, or should I wait before I do that? Because there's a lot of emotion with the names that people have fun with them.
That's a great question. I love the fun names. I love that you've combined two things, the fun name and specifically what it is. I think
Yeah.
if you only had the fun name, that it's going to get lost with the consumer, but the fact that you added the hatch or the 5 cheese aspect, I think is really good. If you're only in a few stores right now and you have the opportunity to change your packaging from a budget resource perspective, I'd like to say yes, do it now, because a year from now, hope that you're in many, many more stores, and then you have to change it at that point. So you can do a rolling change with your packaging in the stores, last in, first out kind of thing. But needless to say, the consumer is always like, oh, look at that cool packaging back there, and takes what's in the back. So I think the sooner that you can do it is better, as long as you do have the resources and that it works for your business. I don't suggest doing it if it really puts you in the hole or it's a concern budget wise, because something like that isn't a ending to what the consumer is looking at. It's a great brand story and you can build into that. But if you've got the resources, I think it's fantastic.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. Great question. All right, so we'll go back to sharing my screen. All right, so again, a good value in branding, that branding builds loyalty with your current fans and generates new customers, keeping the conversation going. So if you're new, you want new customers, right? And you don't have those current customers, but branding really builds all of that. It generates new awareness. It keeps your conversation going, because you can't always be telling people to buy your product. Buy my product, buy my product gets really old. And instead you have to have other conversations. I have a percentage base for content sharing of the 30%, 60%, 10%. 30% of your messaging, your conversation should be your brand story, should be what you're doing with your brand. Talk about talk about what you can do with your products, all those aspects, recipes, fun stuff. The 60% should be things that you share that are happening, that are trending in the category, that align with your products, that are news hits. And sharing those pieces allows you to get new customers because you're sharing information. That last 10%, small, 10% sell your product, because people don't want to hear that all the time. That's what this webinar is all about, connecting with your consumers beyond your products. Super important. All right, so let's talk about reasons to believe. And I'm gonna kind of go through this kind of quickly because I do want to leave a little bit of time for questions. And this is really your evidence, your relevancy to why someone should believe in you. So it truly is your brand promise, but it's the way for you to talk about a few things so that all the other stuff falls away and you have small, simple clips of information about your product, your brand, so that people trust in you. So if I look at, a couple of examples of Trident, 4 out of 5 dentists recommend, super good reason to believe. Third-party endorsement. Fiji, natural artisanal water straight from the Fiji Islands. Whether you like their water or not is another story, but they've really differentiated with water from the Fiji Islands. So your example of proof points are backed by science, reviews and testimonials. Your category expertise, talk that up, why you started this business. Certifications and awards. These pieces really bring trustworthy, relevancy, authenticity, inspiration, all those pieces for all the things that we've just talked about. Here's now the proof points of why that consumer should believe in you. So we know all those certifications that are important. I know sometimes as a small business, it's hard to get those certifications because it costs money, it takes time, it's resources. But having the USDA organic or the fair trade or the non-GMO, if those are things that are important to your business and your consumer, you've got to look into it. Look at awards. Third-party endorsement is a great way for someone else to say how wonderful your product is instead of you always telling people. Someone else says it is so much better than you completely tooting your own horn. Lots of great places for you to gain that kind of award status. You've got to put in for them. So you do have to do the work and you have to find those pieces so that you can submit for them. I really want those proof points to be your brand promise. And looking at those aspects to say, What is the reason for someone to believe in your product, in you? And branding really improves recognition, making your brand memorable, noteworthy, and talked about. So what I'd like to actually kind of bring into a small little viewpoint is brand character and your brand personality. All these pieces that we've talked about now come down to all those guardrails. How are you going to talk? And how are you going to build some personal characteristics that are going to build a personality for your brand beyond the product? Again, focusing on fun, excitement, not always talking about your product. I want you to think of your company vision. I want you to think about what products you specifically need, your target audience, your competitive field. But I want you to have a gut feeling too, like you know your brand, you know what you do, and that really aligns ultimately with archetypes. And this is where I'm going to go so thin at the top of archetypes, because archetypes are personalities that are personal. So we all have our own personalities, right? And we want our brand to have a personality, and we want that personality to align with us, the founder, the brand, so that it's very authentic, but also align with our competitor. So if you're looking at, a brand like a caregiver and it's very guardian like, very healer like, versus a magician is very visionary and catalyst, you can get aligned here. So if anyone's really interested in this piece, I'm more than happy to have a future conversation about it, because it goes really deep and allows you to build a personality, connecting deeper with your customer. So a powerful brand really is built on emotions, those personality pieces, and many of those purchasing decisions, with I'm sure you have seen, really come down to how you make your customers, your retailers, your employees, your partners, all of them feel about your product. You've got a great product, but you've got to tell them emotionally that and get that connection with them. All right, so I'm just going to repeat the framework overall: vision and values, the core bookends to this pyramid, and the pieces in between, which are your mission, what specifically you do with your target audience and your competitor analysis, and those proof points. The fun part truly is that brand character, but I know we only have an hour to talk about things, so I'm going to leave that to the side. It's a lot of stuff you can even Google. I've got some resources on my website that you can look at, but it's fun to get that personality. The goal for this webinar for you is get clarity and confidence that your brand is different. This messaging, this framework will allow you to have those guardrails to build your business. Do you want to say I do have a brand challenge coming up next week? I have a space for 5 brands to really go through this process in much more in depth, and with a cohort of other brands, so that you can see what's happening and get that success and challenge with other brands and have the conversation. Do have a really great discount. You can do the photo on your phone, and it'll take you directly to that website page with more information. But it's truly brand coaching, me walking you through, asking really deep, important questions to you. And it's that collaboration, sorry, can't speak, and helping you with those best practices and tips to really build those guardrails for your business. So definitely want to thank you for this opportunity. I'm more than happy to have a consultation with any of you, answer any questions, go deeper, brainstorm on your business, and really have some fun with what you're bringing to life. And again, thank you very much for your time. And I hope that the information that I presented, you were able to get little nuggets of information to build your business.
Thanks, Kristine. I also shared in the chat, there's the Brand Challenge website and your email, and all the information that they need to find brand guide. So thank you. I don't have any questions in the chat here. I guess I have a comment question, Kristine. We share a lot with brands when we talk to them about their consumer value proposition. And we talk a lot about the psychographics, the emotional contact, the emotional connect they have with the consumer. A lot of brands want to say, hey, we're adaptogen, and we're for people that are looking for adaptogens, or they say we're plant-based for people that are vegan. But if your product tastes good and it connects with the client, the the consumer for something that they need or value, you're targeting your market and you're expanding your market. And I thought the comments you made about the psychographics, the emotional connect, we always tell them, pick that one thing as to why they pick you off the shelf. Why are they choosing you? And, you know, why is that product? What is it that makes them feel good? Whether it's for themselves, for their family, for their health, for other reasons, why are they picking that product? So could you talk a little bit more just for a second about the emotional contact that food, beverage, wellness has with the consumer?
That's a great comment and great question, because I think motivation behind why someone chooses your product or another product, your competitor's product, really does come down to, yes, taste. And that can be a personal thing, yours versus someone else's, but it's that emotional connection that really drives. So it can be all the way from visual, like what does your product look on the shelf? What does your packaging look like? It can also be the motivation. So an emotional connection of having a fun day, or being with family, or snacking, or building a charcuterie board, whatever that aspect is. Or it can truly be that wellness function that comes across from what your product is. And then when you're in that instance, there's an emotional piece of like, I want health, I want to feel better, I want to look better, whatever that aspect is. And to key on that, you really have to have those reasons to believe, those certifications, or the importance of the functional ingredients behind it, so that you can support that emotional motivation behind it. So I think the emotion part of it is super important when you're building your business, because you can really connect with someone visually and just by your messaging.
Thank you. We have just a few minutes here. I'll open it up if anyone's got any other questions. If they're not in the chat, just kind of chime in here. Take yourselves off mute. And if there aren't any, then I guess we will
Actually,
close
I have a
with,
question.
oh,
if-
Michael
if
has
you
a
don't
question.
mind. Kristine, how do you think about celebrity endorsements coming into play in terms of how some founders will think about celebrities as part of their branding and messaging, becoming and getting to that realm of hype versus, you know, the brand messaging?
Sure. So I think that depends on the size of your business. When you're starting off your business, trying to achieve a celebrity status, if that comes, that's fantastic if it's organic. But if it's something that you're shooting for, I feel like that's really far reaching, especially when it comes to resources. You know, you can look at micro influencers and really dial it down, especially when you're starting out, to your region, and get those people talking about your product, versus potentially paying someone a large amount of money from a celebrity perspective. I think it's fabulous when a celebrity does it, but it'd be better if it was from an organic place, like that celebrity just happens to be using it and they talk about it. Yes, play that up, talk to that celebrity, use that in your social media, highlight that, get their permission, all those aspects. But when you're really starting your business, starting with micro influencers, because then if you're selling your products in the Chicago area, if you're selling your products in the Colorado area, you can hone in on key influencers in that area, who can then now talk to your specific target audience. Because it's not going to help if I'm in Colorado and I've got somebody on the East Coast talking about my product, because nobody out there can actually purchase my product yet. Does it help when I want to get new products in? Yes, but you really got to focus where you currently sell your products.
Thank you. With that, we're out of time here. We will share the video, and hopefully Kristine will make her slides available to us to share. We'll make sure everyone gets that. Look for that, of course, if you're a Brandjectory member. You know, continue to look for all our events on a monthly basis. You get many reminders of those, so please join us. If you're not a Brandjectory member, we're happy to have you. Reach out to myself or Michael. Our emails are in the chat, as is Kristine's again. Reach out to Kristine, great person for you to talk to, and get some insight about your branding and your messaging and how you're connecting with the consumer. Michael, anything in closing?
No, thank you, Kristine. This has been great.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you, Kristine. Thanks everyone for being here. We really appreciate it. Have a great afternoon.
You're welcome. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everybody.